Buyer and seller relationship. What's important about the buyer and seller relationship? Hi, I'm Paul R. Atkinson, your real estate coach. Today we're going to talk about the buyer and the seller relationship. What's important about it and why you should know that they are the two most important people in a transaction. Can you imagine that? Before we get started, click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. And remember, go in the description box below to find a link that will help you to understand more about how to understand the buyer and seller relationship within a transaction. So, hey, let's get started, right? Buyers and sellers. Let's think about it. Buyer, seller. You're a real estate agent, right? You're a realtor. Okay. Who are the two most important people inside of a transaction? The buyer and the seller. Without them, we have nothing. You need to understand the relationships that you need to have with these two people, the buyer and the seller. Let's take the buyer at first. The buyer relationship with you should be one where you fully and truthfully, without a doubt, know what they want, what they need, and what their dominant buying motive is. I like to call that the DBM. When you understand what the buyer want, need, and DBM is, it will help you to complete that sales process of getting that buyer to the finish line and closing the deal. In the 5 steps of the sale, you learn how to understand the cycle of the sale and the steps within a sale. The conversation, the curiosity, the conviction, the desire, and the close. It has been over 25 years since the 90s that this has been in my brain, in my mind, in my soul. Understanding that dealing with a buyer, you need to understand their wants and their needs and what makes them feel good about their wants and needs. That's the dominant buying motive. That's what helps you to fully make a sale complete success and keeps you getting more and more referrals over and over and over again. Have that relationship that you are truly connected with the buyer. There's a couple of techniques that I show you in the description below where you learn how to do the mirror technique. What is the mirror technique? The mirror technique is a technique that helps you to associate psychologically with the person, with the buyer. When you associate with them by physically, verbally, these things help you to build a bond within the relationship. And it allows you to be able to take the process all the way through without any hiccups. Now, you always will have something, but I tell you, when you master this and have the ability to command your clients because they respect you and you respect them, I call that the psychological reciprocity. That's where you give your client respect for their knowledge and their beliefs. They become morally obligated to give you back that respect in return. I show you how to do that in the description below. We can't get into it right now. It takes a lot of work to get into it. However, once you master these things, you will have many decades of successfully dealing with your buyers in the most effective way, closing the deal. Real quick, let's talk about the seller. What about the relationship that you should have with the seller? Well, same thing. You need to have a bond with that seller, especially if you want to get the listing initially. You have to kind of work faster than you did with the buyer because you need to connect with that seller because the seller typically has an agenda of like in his brain or her brain, they want to typically, hey, maybe I'm just going to interview 2 or 3 agents. I want to look at two people. So how do you get, you have to move quicker at bonding with them in like the first 60 seconds. And how do you do that? Once again, the same situation, the 5 steps of the sale. Conversation, curiosity, conviction, desire, and close. When you get into that conversation, which is step 1, and you know how to execute the first step of the sale in the most impeccable way, you're going to get that listing done. You're going to get that relationship that the seller trusts you, believe in you, and understands you, and you do in return understand their wants, their needs, what they want to see in selling the property and moving forward to the next property. You get plenty of referrals after that. The relationships between you and the buyer and the seller is the most important thing in a real estate transaction. You must realize that, and you have to develop your skills on how to build relationships, beginning with trust and connection and the ability to command. Guys, you know it. Go in the description box below. If you've not subscribed already, hit on the subscription button right now. Take a look in the description box below of this video and learn more of how you can have the best relationships with your buyers and your sellers. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Go get 'em, Tiger.